Today we're taking a look at these NFL matches, which are happening on Saturday, August 27, 2022, and giving you match breakdowns, betting tips and predictions in general on these games. Welcome back to High Stakes, let's get straight into it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos, and if you would like more betting tips and predictions, then check out our Patreon in the link down below. Our new Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. Multiple plans are available for each and every one of you. You can get 30 extra betting picks all the way up to 360 extra betting picks per month. Stop wasting hours of your time searching for bad betting picks that ends up costing you a lot of money. Join the High Stakes Patreon now and get the best betting picks. Going back to our video, we will give you at least 5 betting picks for each game, a team pick, a total pick, and multiple prop bets based on facts and detailed explanation. So make sure to watch our videos till the end so you don't miss any of our picks. Washington Commanders versus Baltimore Ravens. The Washington Commanders remain on the road and head to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. The Commanders are 0-2 this preseason. Washington has allowed more than 20 points in each of their first 2 games. The Commanders' defense has 2 sacks and no interceptions in last week's loss. Our team pick is Washington plus 6.5 points. Baltimore shouldn't worry about winning a 23rd straight preseason game. The key for them is good health, and for the most part, they have a pretty healthy training camp. However, they're still trying to get players back from injuries suffered in last year's training camp, including running back J.K. Dobbins, ACL, who just started practicing. Airbay Gus Edwards, ACL, will start the season on the PUP list, meaning he will have to miss the first 4 games. At some point, this meaningless streak is going to end. Washington also should play their starters at least a series or 2 as they look to get more offensive production against Baltimore backups. Even if Baltimore wins, Washington just needs to cover here, and why not? They have a decent quarterback rotation with Taylor Heinicke, a starter from last season, and talented rookie Sam Howell. Howell is a slight upgrade over third-string Anthony Brown in Baltimore. After all their injuries last season, needs to play as few key players as possible. Luckily has been sensational in the preseason, but is there a reason to play him more than a series or 2? Carson Wentz expects to play a more important role this week as Week 1 looms. The Commanders saw their QB1 go 6 of 9 for 64 yards in his outing against Kansas City, but the real spotlight was on the rookie ball carrier from Alabama, Brian Robinson Jr. Washington wants to be able to add stability to the running game that already includes 1,000-yard rusher Antonio Gibson and pass-catching J.D. McKissic. Giving Wentz options this season will be Washington's main objection as the team looks for their first winning season since 2016. Rookie safety out of Notre Dame, Kyle Hamilton, impressed against Arizona. He racked up 4 tackles with a pass defended as he continues to show why he was drafted 14th overall in April. However, not all good news for Baltimore. Their 3rd-round pick DL Travis Jones went down with a knee injury, and while live game reps are essential for a young player's development, these preseason injuries are always the risk. Jones is in the Ravens' plans to have a big impact on the defense in his first year. Jones shouldn't miss significant time, according to Coach John Harbaugh via USA Today. Our total pick is over 39.5 points. And here is why. This game has the potential to break the recent trends and to get over the total of 40 because of 3 factors. 1 is the extended reps of Wentz and building that connection with his weapons. 2 is the inexperience of defensive players on both sides of the ball. An injured Chase Young for the Commanders allows them to get younger players a chance, but it does leave them vulnerable without the number 2 overall pick in 2020. 3 is the projected chance of rain, which could lead to a few mistakes for young defenders. Our prop bets are: first pick is Washington Commanders under 20.5 points. When it comes to getting in the end zone, the Washington Commanders had an average of 19.7 ppg. As a team, they had an average of 121.2 yards in the run game, which ranked them 12th in the NFL. The Commanders attained 5,502 total yards last season. Washington accounted for 181 first downs as a team, and they were called for 82 infractions for 743 yards. They turned the football over 24 different times, 15 picks and 9 fumbles. Washington earned 21 touchdowns via the pass and 13 rushing touchdowns. When it comes to yards via the pass, the Commanders allowed 4,333 yards, which ranked them 29th in the league. During their 17 games played last year, They yielded 254.9 yards per game through the air in addition to surrendering a completion percentage of 67.0%. They allowed 359.3 yards per contest, ranking them 22nd in the NFL. They gave up 34 touchdowns through the air in addition to 14 rushing touchdowns. They gave up 4.1 yards per total and 104.4 yards on the ground per game last season. Overall, they gave up 1,775 rushing yards through 17 games. The Commanders were ranked 25th in the NFL in terms of team defense, allowing 25.5 points per game. Our second pick is Baltimore Ravens over 20.5 points. When it comes to how much they scored, the Ravens were ranked 17th in football with an average of 22.8 points per contest. Throughout last year, the Ravens threw for 3,961 yards via the pass as well as an average of 233.0 passing yards per game, which ranked 13th out of all NFL teams. They averaged 145.8 yards via the ground game and ran for 2,479 yards for last year. The Baltimore Ravens had an average of 378.8 yards per contest, which had them sitting 6th out of all teams in the NFL. The Baltimore offense had 852 yards of penalties on 102 violations, which had them ranked 20th in the NFL in terms of giving up free yards. They gave away 18 interceptions while surrendering 8 fumbles, and they earned 209 first downs. Baltimore allowed a total of 1,436 rushing yards, 84.5 yards per outing, in addition to 13 touchdowns rushing last season. They allowed the opposition 31 touchdowns via the pass in addition to 278.9 yards/game, ranking them 32nd in the NFL. Their defense tallied 15 takeaways, 6 fumbles and 9 interceptions for the previous season. Last year, they gave up 392 total points. The Ravens' defense was on the field for 1,033 plays, which had them sitting 6th in the league. The Ravens allowed 23.1 PPG, which had them ranked 19th of all teams in the NFL. Our player props are: first pick is Tyler Huntley under 50.5 QB rating. Second pick is Tyler Huntley over 2.5 average yards per pass. The Ravens wrapped up their year having an 8-9 record. For their last game of last season, the Ravens took a loss by a score of 16-13 when they faced the Steelers. Tyler Huntley finished the game with 141 yards on 16-31 through the air while his QB rating was 37.2. He tossed 2 picks and his average yards per pass attempt was 4.55 yards. Mark Andrews had the best day in terms of receiving for the Ravens, grabbing 8 passes for 85 yards, 10.6 yards per reception. Latavius Murray carried the ball 16 times for 150 yards, finishing the contest with 9.4 yards per carry for Baltimore. The Ravens finished the game with 381 yards and they ran 71 plays, 5.4 yards per play. Baltimore rushed the ball for 6.9 yards per carry, finishing the contest with 249 yards on 36 attempts. Baltimore gave up 30 running attempts for 79 yards, 2.6 yards per rush. The Ravens' secondary allowed a completion percentage of 68.2%, surrendering 235 yards on 30 out of 44 passing. Our third pick is Taylor Heinicke over 50.5 QB rating. The Washington Commanders wrapped up their year holding a 7-10 mark. In their last contest of last season, the Commanders faced off with the Giants and earned the victory with a final of 22-7. Taylor Heinicke connected on September 18th with 120 yards through the air. He had a QB rating of 71.5 and walked away from the game without throwing an interception. Terry McLaurin had an average of 23.3 yards per catch by earning 93 yards on 4 catches. Antonio Gibson was the rushing leader for the Commanders with 21 carries for 146 yards, 7.0 yards per carry. When all was said and done, they tallied 58 plays which gave them a total of 325 yards. The Washington Commanders ran the ball 37 different times and had 226 yards, which came out to an average of 6.1 yards per tote. When it came to the battle of the line of scrimmage, the Commanders conceded 94 yards on 25 tries, which is an average of 3.8 yards per run surrendered. Washington relinquished 15 pass completions on 31 tries for a total of 83 yards, and a completion percentage of 48.4%.